Do I pray for you to have a short meeting?
Absolutely.
Amen.
I'll have Alderman Yielding will do the pledge. Miss Whitby, can you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Gibson.
Is present.
Yielding.
Here.
Robinson. Here. Thomas.
Here.
Berry.
Present.
Vestal.
Present.
Height.
Here.
And Witcher.
Present.
A quorum is present, sir.
Thank you very much. Can I ask we stand for the prayer to be led by Alderman Gibson, followed by the pledge by Alderman Yielding?
Let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for the opportunity to live in a free country. We ask that You be with the City Council as it goes about the city's business. Be with those families, loved ones who are serving overseas. These things we ask in Thy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Witcher?
Yes, sir. I move. So moved.
1 through 7, Alderman Gibson, or Alderman Berry seconds it. Alderman Berry, we're glad to have you back. Any one that we want to pull?
The minutes.
I'm sorry. Well, let's just do this and then we'll do the minutes.
Okay.
No, that's what that was. That was.
That sure was.
Minutes.
Well, you
I'm
said
sorry.
1 through 7, so I was
Oh, yeah, all right. I was jumping around here. All right. Yeah, that's right. On the motion on the minutes, Ms. Whitby?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Now on the blanket motion.
So moved.
Second. All right, E1, one even number pulled.
7.
All right, number 7 be pulled.
No, I'm sorry. That's not right. 4.
4 and 5. On all but 4 and 5. On the motion, Ms. Whitby?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Number 4,
Do you want it read?
Alderman Witcher, what's your pleasure?
Just by title, please.
This is a letter to Mayor Daley and Mayor Hayes from Bruno Kirch, the Chief Operating Officer of Central Arkansas Water, regarding a proposed issuance of revenue bonds for capital improvements.
Move we accept as filed.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
By title?
This is a letter from Mayor Hayes to the North Little Rock City Council. It's regarding a resolution supporting an increase in the depth channel of the McClellan-Kier Arkansas River navigation system to 12 feet.
I give a motion.
Second.
Made and seconded. Before I call for adoption, let me just explain what this is. I know that I've been working on this. I don't know if the council's taken a formal position, but this is almost like motherhood and apple pie. The Mississippi River has forever, I guess, been rated a 12-foot channel. What that means is that whenever the channel should become challenged at 12 feet, the Corps of Engineers is mandated to get busy and start dredging. Well, the Arkansas River, somewhere along the line, got lost in terms of the 12-foot channel, and forever, I guess, since perhaps the McClellan-Kier Navigation Project began, has a 9-foot channel, and that has caused some serious economic, we'll say, challenges, not the least of which the President has got our submarine hung up a little bit down the river. So, you know, we become very interested in learning what inches on a river depth can do in terms of both economics and movement of goods and services and submarines. Now, let me just, before I call for the vote on this, 98% of the Arkansas River is at a 12-foot level or deeper. And there are only 4 spots between here and the mouth of the White, which is actually how you enter the Arkansas Navigation Project. You enter through the White River and then go through a canal over to the Arkansas River, you know, for a variety of reasons, but that's how you get into the Arkansas River Navigation System. So the 9 feet is only at about 4 spots between here and the mouth of the White. And those 4 spots are causing some very severe economic hardship on those that depend on the river. You have to have your barges will come up light. You have to divide your barge loads. You're not able to load as much when you're going downriver. And so for not a whole lot in terms of distance, probably about 3 miles worth of distance, at least to this area, you could have a 12-foot channel. So it's not as ominous as it sounds, and there have been a coalition of people who have been working very hard to see that happens. And this comment period was reopened by the Corps of Engineers. That's why I've asked for a voice vote on the basis of a resolution that'll be actually acted on at next council meeting in order to allow this council to comment in a favorable way on supporting asking Congress to mandate the Corps of Engineers to keep the Arkansas River navigation system at a 12-foot level. While I'm at it, let me just give you a brief update on our submarine. She appeared in Arkansas last Thursday. I believe it was last Thursday. Was that right, Alderman Gibson? I know we were down there.
Well, she came to Arkansas on Thursday. She came to Montgomery Point on Friday.
Well, no, she came to Montgomery Point on Thursday. She spent the night at Montgomery Point, which was just barely inside the mouth of the White River Arkansas navigation system. Spent the night Thursday night, and as the commercial appeal quoted, somewhat stole the show of the dedication of that Montgomery Point lock and dam. There were over 300 people, and she was the most prominent and largest draw in all likelihood of people that came down there. The Corps of Engineers, it was a good partnership with them. That $270 million lock and dam system was dedicated, and our submarine made its initial appearance. The USS Razorback was then Friday afternoon taken back to Rosedale, Mississippi. She presently is undergoing rigging to lift her between the two barges. At one point we were hopeful that because of the depth of the river and that we might be able to rise her high enough to where we could do it without the barge attachments. That hope was a hope, but at least at this point we weren't able to get her any higher than about 14 feet 4 inches in the keel, and that's the back end of the boat, and about 11 feet in the front of the boat. So she's being rigged right now. Probably latter part of this week they'll do some lifting, and if that all goes well, they'll let her settle over the weekend to make sure that she's all snug and is holding the draft. And then there's a pretty fair chance that if those two ifs come in positive, that we'll be moving this way perhaps this time next week. I'm holding my breath and asking all to wish us well and give us a little prayer to get those last 135 miles and that no one's hurt. We've been a terrific transit so far, and I want to thank this council for its participation. We're going to immediately move into the Hoga and hopefully have her here by the end of the year. And then this city and Honolulu, Hawaii will be the only cities in the globe that have significant vessels that were present at the beginning and the ending of the Second World War. With that, I'll ask for a vote on the resolution, for a voice vote for next time. Ms. Whitby?
Gibson?
Yes.
Gilding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
And if any council member, Alderman Height?
I just had a question, and I guess this is really for my own edification. It seems like in the last month I was present in either a meeting or overheard a conversation from somebody that the U.S. Congress figures into the equation on regulating the depth of the Arkansas River along with the other rivers that the Corps of Engineers
I think that's correct, Alderman. As I understand it, we've been working with our congressional delegation that it is federal law that mandates the Corps keep certain rivers at certain depths. So, if I'm not mistaken, you're probably correct that we'll need to get Congress to mandate the Corps to keep us at a 12-foot depth and dredge if they have to. So I think you're correct.
And that has to come from the representatives in Oklahoma and Arkansas.
Well, it'll be the two of us will be some of the main proponents, obviously, of it, but the entire navigation system, would I'm sure be supportive. There obviously is a cost associated with that, or it would have been done, some time ago. I'm assuming. So I know our delegation, as well as the Oklahoma delegation, is on board, and I know there's a coalition of people who use the river are very supportive. So, hopefully we can work with those interested parties and see if we can get something done sooner rather than later.
Hopefully, yes.
Any other questions or comments on the motion?
We already voted.
Oh, we did.
Yes, we
Okay.
did.
Hot dog. Next item.
Presentations.
Now I understand that Miss Jocelyn Turner, is Jocelyn here? Yes, sir. Jocelyn, could you come to the microphone? We've got a basketball team, and I love their name, the Sugar and Spice Girls Basketball Team, ages 11 and under, who will be attending a national tournament in Plano, Texas. And Jocelyn, you want to tell us about our young folks, introduce them, and let us wish them well on their participation in the tournament.
Yes, sir. My name is Jocelyn Turner, and I'd like to introduce the city to one of your best kept secrets, Sugar and Spice. We are the two-time city champions. I'd like to introduce you to our players. This is Kayla Brown, Yolanda. This is Tierra Clay. Yeah, please, I'm so nervous. This is Destiny Spruill, Megan Patterson, Brianna Tillman, Destiny Edwards, and Micah Turner. This is Sugar and Spice, two-time city champions. We started out with the City League at the 10 and under, and we won those tournaments, and we decided we'd see if we could play other places. So we have been to Shreveport, Louisiana, where we won. We went undefeated, and we won, and this is a primetime sports tournament. We won that, we went undefeated, and that qualified us for the tournament that we're going to attend. We also went in June to Plano, Texas, and we won primetime summer hoops. So we are undefeated, both city and regional, and hopefully, with the city's blessings, we will represent you guys really well, and we want to come back from Plano with the national championship.
All right. All right. Well, Ms. Turner, we want to send you off with our best wishes. We are excited, young ladies, for the talent that you have, and certainly the teamwork that you're pulling together as you go and represent us in Plano, Texas. And we can't think of anything that we would enjoy more than going into the state of Texas that so often looks down on its neighbors to the east and bring home the bacon. So with our best wishes, y'all go do well, and we know win, lose, or draw, we want you to win, but represent us well, and we're proud of you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. And now we've got another opportunity. Chris Talcott, our head coach of the Sylvan Hills All-Stars. It's a T-ball team that won the state championship and went to Gulfport, Mississippi, and won the first ever Southwest Regional T-ball tournament. Is Chris Talcott, Chris? All right. Oh, we got some powerhouses coming up to the stand there. Chris, you want to tell us about our T-ball victories?
What I have here is the top 12 kids from North Little Rock and Sherwood and some of the Little Rock areas that represented Arkansas, the central part of Arkansas, down in Gulfport. We went down there for first ever regional championship. We were 6 years old. There was no one here on 7. No one. The youngest one just turned 6 about 3 months ago. We went down there. We played. There were 16 teams down there, and we went. We never were in the losers bracket. We went 5 games in a row. We kicked everybody's butt down there. Did we, guys? We also, before we went down there, we played together in the Bologna tournament, and we went there, and there was 5 teams there. We took first place there with 1 practice together. These kids only practiced together 1 time. We went there and we won that. Then we went to Bologna, and we played 5 games there. These kids haven't seen the losers bracket yet. We're 19-0 right now, and I couldn't be more proud of these kids. And These kids are going to be our future in ball in Central Arkansas right here. Look at them and look at them good, because these are the all-stars that's going to represent us next year and the following year, all the way up, probably through high school. You guys take your hats all wave to your friends. Say your name right there.
Say your name and let's hold our applause. We're going to give them all a big round of applause.
Okay, right there.
Right in that microphone.
You say Kane Gunner.
Kane Gunner. Kane Gunner. Allie Freeman.
There you go.
Wilson Dooley.
Guys, speak into it, guys. Right here.
Right in that microphone.
Mackenzie Seats.
There you go.
Peyton Fitcher.
There you go.
Noah Prof.
Oh,
Blake Maddox.
Blake, let's go, boy.
Dawson Hislop.
All right,
David Talcott.
David.
Carson Sanders.
All righty.
Oh, you already did. And you're This is my assistant coach, Jeff Brock, and Roger Riley.
All right, well, let me just add, Chris, one last thank you from the city of what you and your coaches do. Certainly our future here, and we know that as they grow up, we're going to be a well-educated and good tax-paying citizens. So let me, as mayor of the city of North Little Rock, proclaim this 26th day of July 2004 as Sylvan Hills All-Star Day in honor of winning the Cal Ripken State T-Ball Tournament and the Southwest Regional T-Ball Tournament. Congratulations, youngsters. Just keep up the good work.
Come on, guys.
All right, I think we've got Mr. Scott Yielding. Scott is a good friend of ours and certainly a good friend of this community, not only an officer of the North Little Police Department, brother of our council member Greg. Scott, if you want to come up here and tell us about our Olympians, the International Children's Olympic teams, and how we're sort of special in that regard too.
Back in March, North Little Rock received an invitation to the International Children's Games. The International Children's Games has been around since 1968. This is the first time that it's ever been in the United States, and this year it's in Cleveland, Ohio. When the invitation came in, I guess a call was made and was wanting to try to throw a group of kids together that was a pretty good representation of the city. At the games, there's going to be over 3,000 athletes from all over the world participating. North Little Rock's going to send a baseball team and a track team. A little bit about how the kids were selected. We worked with the school district, Coach Becky Ainley, and some other track coaches at East Campus. Selected the kids. One thing that we told them, don't just select your best, select the ones that good sportsmanship, truly deserve it, really work hard in school. That's how the track selection was made. The baseball, pretty much in the same way. We spoke with a lot of the teachers at the schools, a lot of coaches from around the city. These young men and women are going to represent our city as ambassadors of cultural exchange. We're going to have 2 interpreters assigned to our group for the whole time. They're really doing a good job of letting the kids work together and put them in situations where they're going to get to meet and interact with kids from all over the world. A little bit about our group that's going. Dan Whitby is going to be our city representative. Todd Larson is a baseball coach. They've been working hard. They hadn't had much work for about 2 weeks. They've been working pretty much every day, working them hard. Coach Becky Ainley is going to be the coach from East Campus. Jeremy Cloud graduated this year. He received a scholarship, played baseball at North Little Rock High School in the state championship team. He's going to be playing baseball at North Central Texas. I think he's really enjoyed working hard with the kids. I do want to recognize my wife, Christina Yielding. There's been a whole lot of paperwork involved with this. And she's been on the computer and gotten all the paperwork in. Steve Dvorak, Youth Services Director, has worked really hard to make this work. What I want to do, I want to let the players introduce themselves. All the girls are track teams, and they are all from North Little Rock. So if you will, introduce yourselves. The boys baseball team, I want to let them introduce themselves and also tell you what ballpark they represent from the city.
Okay. You you want to pull that microphone down just a little bit and make sure y'all speak into it, because we want not only those here, but everybody at home to know who y'all are.
My name is Joanne Agee.
My name is Jennifer Johnson.
I'm Kanisha Phillips. Yeah.
I'm Amy Heffington.
My name is Dean Larson. I play at Burns Park.
My name is Carol Newton. I play at Burns Park.
Alex Barker, Burns Park.
Might add that Alex is a good Mill Creek resident.
Clark Sims, Fort Roots.
My name is Cal Crane. I play at Fort Roots.
Ryan Brown, Fort Roots.
Tyler Cagle, Rose City. Rose City.
Yeah.
Rod Jackson, Rose City Police Athletic League.
Travis Beard, play at Burns Park.
Todd Larson, I play downtown. On behalf of the players and their families, the parents, we want to thank the mayor and the city council for affording these young people a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We really appreciate it. We want to give you a hand for it.
We have a couple of kids that aren't here. A lot of them are on last-minute vacations or out of town. Cardell Alexander is from Rose City. Brandon Von Olin is from Lakewood. Demisha Robinson is not here, so those are the three.
Well, Scott, we want to tell you, Todd, all of you who are going, I think this city is truly blessed. We have young girls who are going to Plano, Texas. We've got, a Sylvan Hills All-Stars that are state and regional success stories, and now we've got some of our young people going to represent us not only nationally but internationally in the Youth Olympics. So let us just send you off with our best. Ask you to bring home the bacon, just like we asked the young people from Plano. But most of all, have a good time and represent us well. You've got some terrific people that are going up there with you, and we look forward to making sure that whatever happens in Cleveland, we know it's going to be successful, and we appreciate what y'all are doing and what you're going to do for us. So let's send them off with another round. Okay, thanks, Scott. Thanks, all of y'all. Have a great time. Mr. Boyles, as they have a chance to leave, you want to come to the microphone and let me now, unless there's an objection, go ahead and move into our public hearing. I'm going to go ahead and convene this public hearing. I know Alderman Thomas and Alderwoman Robinson and I have been working on this for a long time. I know Alderman Thomas and I for a number of years. Alderwoman Robinson certainly has lent a lot of recent support, and as well as the rest of this council. We are working toward developing a final plan for a section of East Broadway that I know all of my 16 years have been doing something to begin this project, and if not next year, certainly the first part of the following year. The design that this city council favors, I am told that the Arkansas Highway and Transportation Department will be very receptive to what this council is interested in. And with that, let me introduce Mr. Voyles. The essential question is whether or not we want to have a 2-lane with turn lanes at our major intersection, or whether we might want to ask the Highway Department to have a 5-lane with a center lane being a turn lane. Mr. Voyles, without advocacy of either or, would you please go over what the hearing's about, and then we'll turn it over to the public.
Yes, as you know, last year we had a public hearing with the Highway Department. We're talking about the stretch from I-30 to Rose City. The two optional designs that are being discussed are at the top a 4-lane with a turning bay at all signalized intersections. That would have a grass strip on the curb and a 5-foot sidewalk on the outside. You can see that 69 foot from back of sidewalk to back of sidewalk. Alternatively, we have now the option of going with a 5-lane cross-section. That would feature a 12-foot center turning lane. All the moving lanes would be 11 foot with the 5-lane. On the top, those are all 4 lanes. It's 48 foot of pavement on the 4-lane. The state's typical design would include a 6-foot sidewalk at the curb. I'll show you a couple other illustrations, and then that's all I have. This is showing the 4-lane. You have 4 12-foot lanes, curb and gutter, grass strip, and outside sidewalk. Or the 5-lane cross-section, the center turning lane, 4 11-foot lanes, a 6-foot sidewalk at the curb.
What do we have out there now, Robert? What's the width?
We have 4 9-foot lanes with no drainage, and whatever happens, we will have
We got
drainage.
some drainage out there, but
We have some drainage.
Where's it go?
We have a lot of flooding, but all the drain pipes filled in years ago. It's very hard to clean those pipes out now, so we're replacing drainage in several places. But it's basically 4 9-foot lanes. We'll have new drainage, as we said, with new curves and a sidewalk on either side, which we don't have today.
how many intersections are signalized? Do you know in terms of count?
6, I believe 6 intersections. So, and we can flip back to those if you'd like to see. But the question is, if you're familiar with Pike Avenue, Camp Robinson, those were built at this typical state design with the center turning lane. The 4-lane design will be somewhat narrower than that, but at the intersections with signals, it'll be flared out to this 5-lane type cross-section.
Any questions of Mr. Walls? Alderman Berry?
Yeah, I got a question. Who mows the 4 foot of grass?
That is on public right-of-way, but typically we ask the adjoining property owner. Any other questions?
In other words, it's a responsibility of the city, but we're many times the owner of the business in front of it will take care of that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Of course, along a busy highway, that is an area that takes a little bit of higher maintenance.
Alderman Yielding?
Okay, so let me get this straight. The scope of the project, y'all go back one.
Oh.
Oh, your deal's not working, huh?
Not, we're backwards.
Oh. Scope of the project is from the interstate all the way to the shopping center.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So it makes a bend.
Where it makes a bend. Okay. And where you're talking about either one design or the other, either design A or design B, is only at the intersections.
No.
No. Okay.
The 5-lane cross-section will have a center turning lane, the full length. It would have a center turning lane. Then when you come to a signalized intersection, you would just get in that center turning lane to make the left turn if you're turning left.
Okay. And if you went with the other option,
it would flare out at those intersections.
At the intersections to do that. Okay. So without the turning lane, it's 69 feet. So the right, and with the turning lane, 71 feet.
Yep.
So we've got 2 feet less or a foot less on either side that we're going to be encroaching on the businesses if we go with the 12-foot lanes. We also get 12-foot lanes instead of 11 feet lanes, which, you know, when you've got 9 and you see all the truck traffic that's down there, it would certainly be nice to have the 12 feet lanes, and I would think it would be nice to be one less foot that you encroach into those businesses, because it's going to be, you know, by the time the right of way is taken on some of these, it's going to be pretty close to the, you know, to the businesses. So, I mean, that would be what I would think would be a good thing. I think it's who mows the grass is pretty, you know, I'm sure that's not even an issue. considering what we've been waiting for all these years down there. That's just what I think. I mean, anybody else can...
Well, right now we're going to have a public hearing. Any other council member, if you got any questions of Mr. Voles on any of the aspects of it before we open it up to the public, Mr. City Attorney, would you prepare a resolution for me for the next City Council meeting endorsing Plan A or just endorsing Plan blank?
Okay.
And we'll refer to the 4-lane as Plan A and the 5-lane as Plan B.
Will do, Mayor.
All right. Any other questions for any council member? Mr. Voles, thank you very much. Public hearing is now open. Anyone that would care to address their thoughts on whether we want a 4-lane or a 5-lane. Maybe that's the best way to differentiate it.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Stair. Excuse me. As a member of the Metro Plan's Transportation Advisory Council, a board member of the Argenta CDC, and a resident of downtown North Little Rock, I'm interested in issues that have an impact on the quality of city life. Excuse me. Regarding the question of whether to refurbish East Broadway as a 5-lane asphalt and concrete thoroughfare or a 4-lane boulevard with green strips, I would like to ask the council this question. Are we designing our city for automobiles or for people? If we're designing them for automobiles, then you might vote for 5 lanes of asphalt. If we're designing them for people, then you should vote for 4 lanes plus grass and trees. To help you decide, I'd like to quickly give you a few scenarios to imagine. Imagine it's a hot summer day and you're walking along East Broadway, lugging a few bags of food or something you purchased around here. How pleasant would it be to be surrounded by concrete and asphalt with cars whizzing by you without protection and their tailpipes spewing exhaust directly at you? How much more pleasant would it be to have a protective strip of grass between you and the cars, maybe with a few trees to freshen the air and provide shade? Imagine it's a cold, dreary, wet winter day and you're walking along a 5-lane, unprotected asphalt strip trying to dodge the spray from passing vehicles. Or imagine it's a nice spring day and you're walking down a sidewalk that has trees and a green strip that protects you from the noise and exhaust of the vehicles. I contend that most people who would suggest building roads with sidewalks right next to the road have probably not done a whole lot of walking in the city. One of the least pleasant activities on foot is to deal with the noise and the exhaust of nearby cars, of having to dodge the water and the dirt and the oil from passing cars, of having to worry about a car driving up onto the sidewalk. I was a passenger in a car that did that once, but luckily there were no pedestrians on the sidewalk. That example and the fear that a pedestrian might stumble in front of me is one reason I get nervous sometimes driving down roads where the sidewalk is attached right next to the street. And if it's not enough to think about the people who walk along the sidewalks to make you want to vote for a design with green strips, then I'd like to add just 2 more reasons: businesses and visitors. It's well known and documented that tree-lined streets are much more visually appealing than our asphalt concrete ribbons. A good example here in North Little Rock is the intersection around McCain Boulevard and North Hills Boulevard. By making East Broadway more appealing, we will be improving the business climate for the businesses along that stretch of the road. In addition, planting trees in the green strip will help provide cooling shade along that stretch of the road and thus help reduce the utility bills a bit in the summer. And lastly, I'd like you to consider the impact on visitors. More and more, Broadway is becoming the primary or the first gateway for guests entering our city. Whether they're visiting the Alltel Arena or coming to see the Submarine or perhaps to go to a ball game, Broadway is the street on which many of them will travel. We have here the best opportunity in a long time to make Broadway a street that is a street worth visiting, that complements the streetscaping on Main Street, that is pleasant to look at and safe for both pedestrians and vehicles, and a street that shows that North Little Rock doesn't just welcome automobiles, we also welcome people. Thank you.
Microphone's still open. Surely there's someone else out there that wants to comment on this. Yes, sir.
I'm Mark Smith. Nobody probably knows me, but I'm B.S. Benson Son Saddlebury. On Broadway, mile and a half down on the left, statue of a horse up in there. The green grass, you're going to put trees and the sidewalk. I've never seen one that the tree roots didn't tear it up, and it looked awful. After a few years, when the roots grow up and it pushes the concrete up. So I'm not in no favor of no grass. 'Cause I got enough grass cutting anyway. I'm not for a sidewalk or trees growing along Broadway. You're talking about a guy driving off the road, the man did, to hit a pedestrian that's 6 feet got a 6 feet walk. I can take you down there to my building, and it's a lot further away from the highway than 6 foot. And the concrete brick there are still busted up where he'd go 30 feet at least, and it broadsided my building. And the brick are still all busted up there. Didn't have no insurance. But that's what I'm for now. I'd rather for 5 lanes and no grass growing or trees growing. That just interferes with people trying to pull out to get. I have a bad enough problem with business right to me every Tuesday night. The cars, I promise you, are less than a foot from Broadway parked. And you can't see to get out, and my customers can't see to get out. I got to go a block around to get out because you can't see down Broadway. Coming from Rose City down. Ain't no way. But I've seen everybody in here has seen streets with trees growing on them or bushes, and the next thing you know, all the sidewalks, what is it, raised up. You can't stop it with trees growing down through there. Well, that's my thought on Broadway. I like the idea of widening it to 5 lanes. A lot easier if my customers get in and out. That's instead of the 4 lanes and blocking traffic. And we've got a nice station across the street that sells a lot of beer, and there's a lot of people that get hit right in the rear end, right there and blocking my store. So they sell a lot of beer there, and there's a lot of people drink. I walk over there and get my Cokes and my stuff, and I think it really needs a turn lane all the way. Just there for my neighborhood, maybe for yours, I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council member. My name is Bobby Taylor. We've talked about Lake Broadway for ain't no telling how long. And I would like to see it go back to Broadway, a dry street with 5 lanes. It would tickle me death, and I hope I live long enough to see that.
Mr. Taylor, if you live a couple of years, you'll make it, I assure you. And I do too. All right, amen.
I'm Joe Reynolds, and I appreciate the opportunity to comment. I have done business up and down East Broadway most of my life, and my family's own property. We don't own exactly on East Broadway right now, but I would think a 5-lane turn lane all the way would be the way to go. As businesses come in, you won't have to come back and add that other turn for another light or whatever. I support a 5-lane center turn lane because I still do a lot of business up and down through there, and I know the trees and grass look nice, but like the gentleman said, depending on what kind of trees you plant, but give you a prime example in Little Rock, in front of Bale Chevrolet's old place, they got big pin oak trees there, and they're already getting in the windows of the building, and some of those buildings are going to be real close to the street, and trees and grass look nice, but I don't think it's practical to have that, like he says, down there. If somebody's going to run up on the curb to hit you, they're probably going to hit you whether you're 6 feet or 20 feet away, so I would think a 5-lane situation would work better in the long haul and be done with it forever and have an extra lane there for future expansion of to have people be able to turn anywhere they wanted to on any street. And if you have at a signal light, if you have a lane to turn if 3 cars are in that lane, you're going to be backed up out into the other lane attempting to get in there. If you're trying to get 5 or 6 cars, and there's not enough room to turn 5 or 6 cars into those places. So if you have a center turn lane, you can turn anybody, anywhere, anytime. Thank you.
Microphone's still open.
My name is Bob McCreary. I own a piece of property at 2911 East Broadway. I wanted to ask Mr. Boyle something. Do we know if the traffic flow is going to be similar on either plan?
Will it be the same traffic?
Well, I mean, is the traffic flow going to be similar on either plan? I mean, is it going to be better with the 5 lanes, or we suspect it'll be similar?
Well, the 5 lanes gives you a little more capacity because, as the gentleman said, you can, if you're turning off the street, you can pull in that center turning lane at any location. So it gives you a little more capacity to have 5 lanes. But at the major turning locations, you're going to have a turning bay for the major turns. Right. It'll be okay either way. So, but either one will handle the traffic.
Well, I'd love to see some grass and trees. I suggest fake trees, you know.
Microphone's still open. Come on up and identify yourself and tell us your thoughts.
Save a tree there.
I'm Mark Waters. Good evening. I got a couple questions for you. Where are we going to start the project at? Are we starting from I-30 Bridge and going the other way, or are we starting out from wide down there going towards England, coming back this way?
That's a very good question. I would imagine that'd be up to the contractor, and they've got to do the drainage work first, so they may start, all up and down there. They got to keep it open, so for a year and a half, 2 years, it's going to be, I'd say a year and a half, it's going to be kind of a fun to navigate that.
Right.
But that's totally up to the contractor who gets the bid, but I would imagine you're probably going to start your drainage work before they do the rest of it.
Well, we own some property down there, just down from Alltel on the north side, and it's going to happen one way or the other, whichever plan we decide to go with. And I have no heartburn with that because there has been a lake out there forever. But that, I think, would be a question that I think that you guys would need to inquire on. And also, we're talking about in plan, what was it, B, we're talking 12 foot?
I believe Plan B is 4 11-feet lanes and a 12-foot center turn lane, I think.
Okay.
And then the sidewalks are adjacent to the street.
Okay, is that being taken half from the south side and half from the north side?
I don't know exactly what the alignment would be, but
No way it could be.
Yeah, I imagine they'll try to take it. They'll try to do it in a way that takes the least, is the less as it can be in impacting businesses along there. So
yeah,
it may vary one or the other depending on where the buildings are.
Okay. Well, I know since we're on the north side, if it takes from the north side, then that's going to cut my property line down to 38 feet by 150 foot versus now 50 by 150. So that interests me a lot as far as, how much, we got to go from that point. So any which plan is going to happen anyway. But I would definitely think, and I believe that y'all are going to do the fair thing, hopefully from equal rights, all, both sides of the street. But trees and what have you, that's neither here nor there. But grass, I don't see that you need grass. That's more expense on the city that you can put elsewhere, and more time away from people if they have to mow it if the city's not. So that's what I got to say.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yeah, I got one question.
All right, Alderman Height.
I just want to make sure that I heard him correctly. He doesn't care which plan we use. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct. I mean, either way, the decision's going to be made one way or the other. But that's the way I'm at.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I ask one question?
All right, Alderman.
Mr. Boyles, what's the current right-of-way now on East Broadway? I know it varies. The current right-of-way on East Broadway,
It's 50 and 60 feet. There's more 50 than 60.
oh, there's some 50 and some 60. So I answer the questions according to where you are on East Broadway, whether they're going to take, how much space they're going to take.
The
You
state,
need to know exactly what they're looking at. I think we're going to, one plan encompasses an additional 2 feet, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, center turn
well,
lane.
the state will come up with their proposed right-of-way. Last year, we had a proposed right-of-way at a hearing, and everyone could see, I think there were 33 businesses or buildings that the state was planning on purchasing. But they're, as the mayor said, they're trying to minimize the cost by at least lessening the impacts on businesses. And you're still taking about 33.
Alderman Thomas, if
Yes.
Alderman Gibson's finished.
I just wanted to ask him that question, but the right-of-way is going to be about the same either way.
Yes, sir, it will be.
See, the
It's
right-of-way
about
is
the
the same.
same cross-section.
The quine.
Okay, Alderman Berry, excuse me just a second, we'll get a few of
What,
these quick.
is that gonna,
Robert?
gonna average out 5 more feet, or what will it
State's
average
saying
out?
2 feet
2
difference.
feet, 2 feet difference?
2 feet difference.
Than
Now,
what they have now?
right now, we have 50 and 60 foot of right-of-way on 36 feet of paving, and we'll get a...
Plan A does how much?
69.
69 feet,
69
Plan B
feet,
does 71
feet.
Okay.
Now, Plan A does have those flared turn bays at all the signalized intersections, which is a block long in either direction of the signal. So, Plan A widens out at all those signals.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name's Clay Cochran, and I own 1623 East Broadway, and me and my family, we've been there, not right there, but we've been on Broadway, I guess, 40 or 50 years, I guess. And I think it is important kind of to clean it up down there because the roads have gotten terrible, but I think that if you're going to spend the kind of money that the taxpayers are going to spend to redo the road, that you could fix the drainage that's there. I mean, if it's possible, you can go down there and do what we're going to do, then I know that it's possible to go down there and fix the drains we have, because probably the reason they're the way they are is because they haven't been maintained. I know they're a state highway, and personally, I don't ever see anybody. I'm there 6 days a week, and I don't ever see anybody hardly using that to walk down there, and I don't think that would change with a sidewalk. I mean, most of them are businesses, and I think that it needs to be taken in count that people like myself, and I know catchers that have been down there for as long as I can remember, that it's going to wipe people like that out, and I don't think it's fair to them. And I think that road could really be made a lot nicer. I think you could fix the drainage there and really pave it, not patch it like it's been patched for the last 20 years of what I can remember. Actually really fix it, really fix the drains, maybe put some nice street lights down there. But as far as the sidewalk and taking literally people out of business, I think that's a waste of money. And also I'd like to ask, what is it worth to people like me that are I'll be losing my inventory on a car lot there. I'll be losing my inventory. What's it worth to me when I do have to give up, a quarter of my property, and people like Catcher that literally have to move their business?
Right now, the main thing of what we're trying to get an impression is whether one favors a turn lane with 4 lanes or 5 lanes. Do you have any feeling on that?
I'm sorry.
I just said, one of the things that it pretty well is the decision's pretty well been made that we're going to do either Plan A or Plan B.
Well, and I missed the first meeting, so some of that's my fault. But so I guess if you're going to do it one way or the other, there's really not much I can do as far as my opinion on the turning lane. I think 2 lanes of traffic down there I think they're enough. I really do. I think if you're in the left lane, turn left, and that's enough. And if you're in the right lane, you're going to turn right. I think that's enough. But so.
Thank you. Microphone's still open. Just a second, sir. You're welcome to come back to the microphone. Just a second. Mr. Bulls at least it doesn't have the plans here, because I think we're trying to decide one or the other. But I know there are some plans that exist on the 4 lane.
Yes, I have a draft set in my office if you want to come by.
Yeah, anyone that's both sets or both?
No, state's only developed the first lane.
Right. All right, Mr. Faulkner.
I'm J.J. Faulkner, and
I'm citizen of North Little Rock and also a property owner on East Broadway. I've been down there since 1991, I believe. And I looked at this. I think I talked to you, Mayor, maybe last week sometime. I really didn't have a preference one way or another, just as long as we did it. I'm not going to digress about the water on East Broadway. Everybody knows about it. Or the chuck holes. All the front end alignment people know about that. So if we're going to get it done, let's go with it. Also, I have just returned from a couple of trips that I see no reason for the artery release that East Broadway is going to have as far as traffic is concerned to consider anything other than the 5-lane traffic pattern because of the center turn lane plus moving the traffic faster and quicker. Plus, it would help as far as your truck delivery is concerned, and I have several deliveries with the truck as far as my personal business is concerned. Some things I'm not going to like about this. I'll have a designated driveway that may not work just exactly right, but I did make up my mind, Mayor. I have chosen a 5-lane.
Thank you, Mr. Faulkner. We appreciate it, JJ. The microphone's still open. Going once. Going twice. Okay, we'll adjourn the public hearing.
3-minute recess.
All right, take a 3-minute recess. 3 minutes. Right now, Alderman, it's 7:52 and a half.
Okay, what's the deal here? Well, we just had some questions. I can't really tell about this. First of all, where they give you some cost on any of these? Very good.
You're welcome.
I guess. I was at Ranger Springs over the weekend, and I just can't imagine these things are this expensive, okay? And I just can't imagine. I saw a bridge going up to the springs, okay? And that dude had some piers that were rock, okay? And then let's say we're looking at it this way. There's piers underneath it like this, and they were rock, okay? And then on top, if we were looking at it from the other direction, like this, they were rock piers, and they had concrete. They were in a base of wood, like there was wood like there, and then there was wood underneath, okay, like this. All right? And they built those, and then they poured the concrete in here, and then on the outside of these things, there would be rails, like on the outside with a boat going through them, and then the rail came up like this, and it was treated timber, and then it was like this, you know what I mean? Of course, it had the rails on it. You get what I'm saying? All right, so this was this section, like this. Okay, and then these are bolted in. These are bolted into concrete. So you had, these concrete things like this, and then you had the pier going down like this, and this was rock, okay? I mean, all they did was build a wood deal out of this treated lumber, and then take your concrete or their pump truck and pump it in, and then smooth it out. I mean, how hard is this to do? they've got it curved and everything. But I mean, I'm just saying, when you talk $30,000 to run 60 feet with one of these prefab deals, and then here's the deal here, and I remember that there used to be grants we could get for stuff like this if we used wood. Remember when they were gonna give grants to build a boardwalk out of wood, and we didn't do it because they didn't want to build a boardwalk out of wood.
Except this copy. It looks like a photocopy. Mike, that woman is going to be, Mike, that woman's going to be all over me. She's going to be all over me, like, she already done accused me of not being
See if we can get people moving back to their chairs. Let me go ahead and, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Whitby, I think I can take care of all the things before we go to the agenda.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start off with old business.
Resolution 0446, Alderman Yielding.
We're going to hold that. Give us time. Yeah, we'll just hold it. Can I give a little report? I mean, I can give.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're going to hold this at this time. There's been some changes in ownership. However, the code is making sure that they keep the grass cut and that it's boarded up. And there are also some other houses on 23rd that are by the same owner. And so everything's progressing, and at least they're being, the grass is being cut, and they're being, the houses are being secured. So we're going to hold it at this time until we can get through a little legal work with the courts and the fines and that sort of thing. So we'll just hold it at this time and just keep it on here.
Go to ordinances, old ordinances, Ms. Whitby.
Ordinance 0431, Alderwoman Robinson.
I want us to go ahead and vote on this.
All right. We got it amended as we wanted, and Alderwoman Robinson calls it. Would you read it, please?
This is an ordinance establishing requirement for home daycares and daycare centers in the city of North Little Rock. Third and final reading. It's amended.
Motion made for adoption. Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. Discussion on the motion.
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson. Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Ordinance 0437, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
This is an ordinance waiving formal bidding requirements for the lease of a copy machine for the North Little Rock Airport, authorizing the North Little Rock Airport Commission to enter into a lease agreement for a copier. Third and final reading.
We do have a motion.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Former Alderman Charles Kimbrell. Now, Charlie, you're, I guess, the president or chairman of the Airport Commission.
Yes.
You want to help us understand? I hadn't been able to explain it adequately, and let any alderman ask a question while we're doing this, and then I think maybe Mr. Susky can chime in.
Okay, Mayor and Alderman, we had a copy machine that went out and was old, and it cost us more to get it fixed, and our contract had ran out on to get it fixed. We have a printer that's about ready to be replaced. So what we done, we looked at this machine. It does all of it. It ties into our computer out there. And we do quite a bit of printing now of all those leases that we're doing. So we put all of it together in one package, and we put these out for bid, and we took 3 bids on this, and this was the cheapest one of them. And so we, instead of us taking the money out of our budget to pay for this the rest of this year, we agreed to lease it. It's a lease payout. It's our machine. We can pay it off at any time we get more money in our budget, which we are doing by some more people paying our leases on the airport. And so we didn't want to pull it out of our budget to the end of this year. So we, all of us voted to lease the thing, and that's why we came to you on it, sir.
Mr. Susky?
Yes, ordinarily, small items like this would not become before the city council, but since this is pursuant to Amendment 78, the Constitution requires that the city council approve it, so that's why it's here.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions on the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Ordinance
Thank you
0442.
very much, and we appreciate all
Thank
the
you,
hard
Mayor.
work
Appreciate
that you
y'all.
and the commission do. Things are happening out there, and we...
Mayor, if you get a chance, you need to come out and ride around. We've got some big hangars being built right now.
We're excited.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
0442, Alderman Yielding.
Read it once and hold it.
This is an ordinance referring to the people of North Little Rock, Arkansas, a proposed ordinance prohibiting smoking in restaurants, healthcare facilities, and certain public places, except freestanding bars in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading, I'm sorry.
Hold it.
Ordinance 0444, Alderman Vestal.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance allowing a special use for a mobile barbecue stand in the C4 zone for certain property located at 3720 East Broadway in the city of North Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
On the question, I'm sorry. Alderman.
Mayor, if anybody has any questions or about the special use.
I guess I'll always have to ask the question. Obviously, this is in somebody else's ward. It failed planning 4-4.
Yes, it did.
What were this question probably should not be of you, but also Mr. Boyles. What were the objections at plan? A drink of water didn't do any good. What were the objections at planning?
Mr. Voigt, can you give us a summary of what took place?
I believe the Planning Commission wants to clean up Broadway as we're trying to do with the road project, and they're wanting businesses to have a clean appearance and permanent look, and they felt that temporary food vendors would not set that tone.
All right, let's go ahead and get a motion, because I know it's on third.
I want to hear from y'all.
I'm sorry, but, well, before we discuss it, let's get a motion to see if
Move for adoption.
All right, is there a second? All right, motion made and second. Now discussion. All right.
I've attended a few neighborhood meetings, and I presented it to them, and Rose City Property Owners Association, I attended that meeting, and a couple of folks there was opposed to it, spoke with the leaders in Meadow Park, and they were opposed to it. So, and I spoke with some of the planning commissioners that represent our area, and they were the ones that voted against it, it's my understanding, because of the reasoning of wanting to clean up East Broadway.
Any other discussion?
I might say we do have people from the Rose City area that might want to speak on it tonight. I know they voiced their concern. They might want to speak on it tonight.
To request Alderman Thomas, if anyone might want to comment on this, we'll go ahead and open that briefly. 1, 2, all right.
Hello, how's everybody?
Fine.
Wonderful. My name is Esther Jackson, and I do mobile barbecuing. I don't see how, and I would present it as a question, how doing a mobile barbecue, if you're doing the mobile thing and keeping everything clean, how it would deface the city. I mean, it's an economic opportunity for those of us who do that, And I think it ought to, when we bring money into the city, and we enhance keeping the economy going. We pay taxes on that, and I think that opportunity should be available for people who do that. That's their livelihood for some people. That's how they make their money, pulling around mobile barbecue stands or something else, whether it's fruit or whatever. So, I'd like that question. Yes.
Well, anyone can ask and anyone can answer, but they're not obligated to.
Absolutely.
All
If
right.
you don't mind, I appreciate somebody responding to it.
Microphone's still open.
Could sponsor consider holding this for 2 weeks until I can get a little more information?
The applicant is here. If you have any questions you would like to ask of the applicant.
Mr. Taylor?
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Bobby Taylor. I talked to one of the aldermen at the Rose City Property Owners Association and the Crime Watch just a few nights ago. And of course, I'm not against anybody making money, but I feel like these people need to have an established place to stay, not from here to yonder, first one thing and another. I told her I had a body shop, and what would be the difference in me coming right down here in front of this bank and putting a portable body shop in for 3 or 4 days? I know you don't have to answer, but that is my opinion on that.
Microphone's still open.
My name is Joan Peck, and I'm the applicant, and we were not planning on going from here to there. We were looking at a set site 5 days a week. We also have we're partners in a restaurant in North Little Rock on Faulkner Lake Road, and we were just going to use this as another outlet. We do mostly catering out of our other location, and we were not, except for special occasions, if somebody called on us to cater on their property, we're planning, a 5-day-a-week thing at just this one location.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Peck, would y'all have any objections if I held this for 2 more weeks?
No, sir. I sure don't.
Well, Mayor, I'm going to hold the legislation to this point.
Next item.
Ordinance 0445, Mayor Hayes.
I know that we want to clarify that. I don't know if we're ready to right now. I know Chief Bradley wants me to hold that, but it's our intent to clarify this and indicate that would only apply to people who are under state law currently are required to report. Is that not correct, Chief Bradley? So this is not all our mom and pops that that don't currently fall under any reporting requirements. This would be amended to do that, but the chief wants me to hold it, and I'll be happy to till at least next council meeting. New business, I think, Ms. Whitby.
Yes, sir. Resolution 0450, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
A resolution clarifying that Resolution Number 6112, increasing pensions of the North Little Rock police and firefighters who have been retired for over 10 years under the old pension plan, was also intended to apply to surviving spouses.
I move for adoption. Second.
On the motion.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Resolution 0451.
Please call it. Whoops, isn't that me?
It is you.
Okay, me. Call it then.
A resolution authorizing the transfer of Lot 7R, Weiss Anderson addition to the City of North Little Rock from Metro Builders Incorporated to RSR Properties, LLC.
Move for adoption.
Second.
On the motion.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinance 0446, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
This is an ordinance waiving formal bidding requirements for printing the North Little Rock History Book. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules, place it on second reading.
Second. On the motion.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance waiving formal bidding requirements for printing the North Little Rock History Book. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules, place it on third reading.
Second. On the motion.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance waiving formal bidding requirements for printing the North Little Rock History Book, third and final reading.
On the question?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Ms. Sandra Taylor Smith and Mr. Kerry Bradburn, I know both of them are here. Can y'all just come, Sandra, one of you come to the microphone real quick, tell us when we're going to get to read this book? Mr. Bradburn has been working with us to compile it, so if y'all give us just a little update on that while we've done this, we appreciate it.
The book is 288 pages of text. There are over 150 photographs in it, and we're shooting for having it published and out by November 1st so we can have it at Christmas season.
How many times is this council's picture in there?
Well, we have your names in there.
We look forward to reading it, and we appreciate all the work that's been done on it. Thank you very much.
Let's sell more copies that way.
Next item.
Ordinance 0447, Alderman Thomas.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance rezoning certain property located at 7005 Highway 70 in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas, from C3 to I3 zone by amending ordinance number 3171 of the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. First reading.
I'd like to move that the rules be suspended and placed on a second reading.
Is there a second? On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance rezoning certain property located at 7005 Highway 70 in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas, from C3 to I3 zone by amending ordinance number 3171 of the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
I'd like us to discuss this because I have
Okay.
some questions regarding it.
Can we go ahead and take it third?
I want to make a motion that we put it on the third reading, and I would like to say, too, that it was approved by all 8 members of the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded, and we'll talk about it at the third reading. On the motion to suspend the rules.
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
No.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance rezoning certain property located at 7005 Highway 70 in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas, from C3 to I3 zone by amending ordinance number 3171 of the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
We're in discussion. Alderwoman Robinson.
I have some questions. Mr. Voiles, I guess I have several questions. I know that this is being requested to rezone from C3 to I3 zone. My first question is, what are they planning on putting in on this piece of property?
The owner, Neil Thompson, is here. He is wanting to sell his property. He has been running Arkansas Foreign Car Parts for the last 30 years. That was annexed into the city, Zone C3, so that they could limit any further expansions. And he's now wanting to sell that. He thinks he would have a better opportunity to do that with industrial zoning. And you speak for yourself.
Okay, good evening. Also, Metro Scrap has shown some interest, and they're already zoned like I'm asking this I-3. Also, I've considered trying to put in maybe a trucking or selling it, leasing it, or something to a trucking, warehousing, something better than what's there now.
Okay. My second question, with this being I3, that's, in my opinion, is a very intense zoning. Robert, what can go in an I3?
Well, it is our heaviest industrial classification. However, we have an added list in the zoning ordinance that if it's a very dangerous type activity, that it takes 2/3 vote of the Planning Commission to authorize the activity to commence. But it is heaviest industry that we have in the city.
How close are the nearest neighbors?
They're 100 feet. There's that trailer park that's just across the rail track, and I believe that's probably 100-foot right-of-way.
About 100 feet.
Could be less.
I know that I3 is already in there, but my concern is adding another I3, and you got this community that's located 100 feet. Even though you say you're going to sell it, the problem that I have is that once it's sold, whoever buys it is able to go in and put in whatever I3 says that they can put in.
That's only if it's approved by you people.
No.
No.
That's the problem.
have a question too when she's finished.
That's just a concern.
Metro's already I-3. They're my next door neighbor.
They could put in a
and
chemical
they're showing some
plant.
interest in buying it, and that's one reason why I'm trying to change. Plus the fact that if I pursue this and go out of business, I'll have to try to entertain the idea of having a trucking company or warehousing, cold storage, something like that. I'm not going to put in I wouldn't think anything dangerous.
Alderman Thomas, and then Alderman Height.
What I was going to say, that Metro Scrap is right adjacent to you, and also there's a railroad track between the property and the nearest mobile homes. That's what it is back there, mobile homes. And that's the reason I felt that would be in keeping what's there already.
Alderman Height.
Robert, looking at this map,
Yes, sir.
the property immediately to the right of it,
It's another south chart.
is that, and that's zoned
It's on C3.
C3, okay.
Mayor.
Alderman Gibson.
Mr. Boyles, Mr. Thompson could operate his business as is under C3 zoning.
He could continue as
Continue his
non-conforming
operating. If he
use.
sold his business as it was, it could continue to operate just like it is.
That's my understanding.
That's my understanding
He
too.
can-
If we rezone this to I3, the list of uses automatically opens up, Mr. Thompson. We don't have to approve it. Someone else can just come in, and I grew up on Highway 70, half a mile past there, corner of Central Airport and Highway 70. I'm real partial to that area. Didn't want to see all the salvage yards that went in, but they did, and we lived through all of it. But I would personally like to see it either not I-3, because the I-3 list is long, to some degree is dangerous. They can do it. I mean, they have to operate with enough perimeters around it. Is that you could sell your business as it is to somebody, and they could continue to operate as a foreign car salvage place. Obviously, I'm not sure that Metro requires I-3. I think they could probably be in I-2.
I want to know how they got to be I-3 already, because I never got the notification when they were changed from C3 to I-3.
I don't either.
We had a rezoning around 96 where they came in. They were doing an expansion, and the rezoning was required for that. They requested I-3, and that was granted through the council.
Does they require I-3, or could they be an I-2?
It is metal scrap processing. It is closer probably to an I-3 than the I-2 or I-1 classification. Your land use plan does indicate light industrial for this area, which I-1 or I-2 would qualify. Now, most of the trucking and warehousing things that he's mentioned would fit into an I-2.
Any further discussion? All right, what's your pleasure, Alderman Thomas?
Well, I guess
we want to go ahead and move for adoption again, since we've had a discussion.
yeah, because I think it's in keeping what's there already, so I'd move for the adoption. And
On third and final, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion now. Any further discussion? Alderman Yielding?
I want to know what can go in the I-3. I mean, obviously, chemical factories and everything else. I mean, actually, with that zoned I-3 next to it, you could combine those two pieces of property and just make about whatever you wanted to, couldn't you, Robert?
Again, it is the heaviest industrial that we have. It allows the bulk storage of petroleum, for instance. But whatever redevelops there, we will be requiring a buffer zone between that neighborhood and this use.
Okay, I'm sorry, Alderman Yielding, you finished?
Well, no, I'm not finished. I mean, the process, as Alderman Gibson was saying, I mean, the process is, getting reversed here. You're just going to sell the property, and you just want it zoned up to the highest use that it can be in order to do that. And if we do that, then someone can just go in and just put it in there, and there's no say that anybody has. It's zoned I-3. It should be the other way around. If someone wants to buy the property zoned C3, they can, and then if they want to put in something and they want a zoning, then they can go back and apply to the planning commission and bring it back before the council, and then everybody knows what's going to go into the area. So it's kind of, getting the cart before the horse on the deal, to me. There's just a lot that could be done, especially combined with that property next door that's zoned I-3, that they don't even need I-3 in the first place. Like Robert said, they could have done it under I-2. But you could, like you said, it's the heaviest industrial zone. You could put anything in there if it was zoned I-3. And I just believe that it's just getting the cart before the horse, and it's going to not give the city council or anybody any leeway in what goes in there. They'll just be able to, once it's zoned, and you can go ahead and do it. That's all I have to say.
Further discussion?
My reasoning is that we have neighbors that live within 100 feet of this I-3 zoning, and I'm real concerned and about that. Maybe there's something that can coexist with that neighborhood. Now, I know I've been told it's a mobile home park, but that's still a community and people live there. And in I-3, Robert, what is the most intense thing can go in this I-3? What's the most intense?
Well, it depends on how it's managed, of course.
But what can go?
I would say your bulk storage. We have pesticide manufacturing, things, more heavy industrial is the I-3 classification. Okay. Now, I-2 also has a lot of industrial use, trucking, things of that type.
Okay. Well, I'm concerned about the people that live within 100 feet.
I just one other thought. I know that one of our plan commissioners lives within probably 300 feet, and all 8 of them voted for it. Is the reason I went ahead and sponsored it.
Anyone else?
I just want to bring up the fact that the Planning Commission did, with a unanimous vote, support this. That's 8-4 and 0 against. And
would be the first time I voted against one of them.
Gibson?
Those people just live in trailers. It don't matter.
No. Gibson votes no.
Yielding?
No.
Robinson?
No.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
No.
Vestal?
No.
Height?
yes.
Witcher?
Yes.
Motion fails.
Now, Mayor, to allow the person to be able to bring it back in is something else. I'm going to move to expunge, having voted on the prevailing side, I'm going to move to expunge the vote on this. And that's let me explain the technicality now. Is if we go ahead and turn this down totally, nobody can bring out a rezone on this piece of property for a year. I don't want to leave you with that situation.
Well, from a seller's standpoint, I was trying to make it more attractive to the buyer.
Understand. So what I want to do is move to expunge the vote on this.
I'm trying to sell my business.
Understand.
Let me, excuse me, Alderman, Mr. Susky, I just want to make sure a clarification. I know this year rule. What is this? How does this year rule apply?
By a city ordinance, if somebody has seek to rezone a property and it has been denied, they cannot reapply for that for 1 year.
For any rezone?
I don't recall exactly.
I
don't know if it's any or if it's the particular. I'd have to look that up.
Again, I won't talk further, but I thought that was the Planning Commission's rule. I thought we could come back even next week. I don't think that we got an ordinance that...
that is a city ordinance. Obviously, you could change it if you wanted to. That has been in place for a number of years, or would have.
Okay, I'm wrong.
And I'll give you the rationale of why it was done. We had certain pieces of property that would come to us almost every other month, and the same families would have to come in and battle it again. And they just kept coming back. I can remember Mr. Duke and Mr. Percival were two of them.
I remember.
And so that's why that was passed. It was probably done in the early 80s.
Okay.
Where a person wouldn't have to continue to come to every city council meeting to battle another rezoning over the same piece of property. So what I'd like to do is expunge, having voted on the prevailing side on the previous issue, I'd like to move to expunge the vote on that issue and then ask the sponsor to withdraw the piece of property.
Second.
That's if he comes in with a different.
On the motion, Ms. Whitby?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding? Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
It gives us a little leeway
Because then,
for you.
Mr. Thomas, would you withdraw the legislation?
I'll withdraw it, and then we'll
Come back in and work it through.
What happened, Mr. Thompson, is that we erased the slate, and now if you sell your property and it requires a different zoning, then you can come back and apply for that zoning, and the council will have a little bit better idea of what uses it may be.
Could I drop down to an I-2?
Not now, but you can visit, I mean, certainly you can do anything you want, but I think that, and I'm just one person, but I'm going to kind of summarize what I think the council's trying to say to you, and that is, give us a use rather than just prospectively rezone because it's a broader use than what you currently have. That was the tenor of Mr. Alderman Yielding's comments, is the cart before the horse. We normally have somebody coming up here with a specific use, and they say, this use will fit this zone, therefore I want it rezoned. Very, very seldom do we have somebody come up and say, I want to sell my property, so give me the broadest use that you can have, and that way I can have a better market for it. So I think that was the cart before the horse comment, and so not being able to speak for every alderman, I think it would be perhaps better if you did have a use that didn't fit your zoning, and then be able to tell them what that use was. Thank you very much. Next item.
Ordinance 0448, Alderman Vestal and Berry.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance rezoning certain property located at 7722 MacArthur Drive in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, from C3 to R1 zone by amending ordinance number 3171 of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. First reading.
Move to suspend rules, place the ordinance on its second reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance rezoning certain property located at 7722 MacArthur Drive in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, from C3 to R1 zone by amending ordinance number 3171 of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
Move to suspend rules, place the ordinance on its third reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance rezoning certain property located at 7722 MacArthur Drive in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, from C3 to R1 zone by amending ordinance number 3171 of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
On the question?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding. Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Ordinance 0449, Alderman Gibson.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance allowing special use for a daycare center in a C4 zone for certain real property located at 600 West 22nd Street in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. First reading.
I'd like to explain this a little bit, Mayor. Obviously, I sponsored it for consideration only for a couple of reasons, and I'd like to take the opportunity before we move forward to do so.
Floor is yours.
Obviously, we're working on a lot of areas in regard to daycare centers, and so most of the amendments that we would probably want to put on this one, other than this is the longest list I've ever seen of conditions put on somebody, I think that Ms. Robinson's legislation tonight makes a lot of this not necessary, but we're going to leave it in there. But I also have a second problem with this piece of property. If you look at the map, you'll notice that it's very unusual, particularly in the area that we're spending a lot of time and effort to clean up, and that area is being West 22nd and West 23rd. Right in the middle of all of that R3 and R5 property is something unusual, a piece of C4 property. I met with the applicant tonight and said, Mr. Webb, I don't have a problem with a daycare going in there, and I'll work with you on it, but I want to rezone that property back to R3, like the rest of the neighborhood, and he's agreed to that. So, Mr. Boyles, I'm assuming that we can...
Can you come to the microphone?
That we
Mr.
can do
Boyles?
both of these within one. Rezone this property to R3 and do a special use. I know that when you do something, often we go from R1 to property to R2 or 3 so we can, because you can't special use R1 property.
We didn't advertise a rezoning.
But I'm
That's the only
down
problem.
zoning instead of...
Right, but city attorney may object.
Excuse me.
If we have not followed our procedure for the actual rezone of property requires that notice in the paper and public.
So had we chosen to rezone the previous piece of property that was going to I-3, if we'd chosen to make it I-2, we couldn't have done that either.
I think they can downgrade on the floor. The applicants can downgrade on the floor, but I'm just saying, they came in for special permit, and I'm sure you could do it. You're the council.
Mr. City Attorney, you got any comments on this?
My advice is the application was for a special use. If you're going to rezone, I would, run the notice again and just run it through the commission.
What about making one of the conditions of the special use that within a reasonable time it be rezoned to a R3?
Certainly.
How about that, Alderman, as an
Well,
amendment?
that's fine with me. Mr. Webb, is that okay with you? He and I discussed this downstairs. I know you're anxious to get this open as a daycare.
All right, why don't, Mr. City Attorney, with that as a condition, that the special use shall be subject to the following conditions, and just say, and we'll put this on the city to do, since the applicant's agreeing to it, unless there's any objection from the council, that, that the planning office will take the appropriate steps to have this property rezoned to a R3.
And, yes, and I think the procedure is that the council can rezone it into a down zone, that the city then will do the notification
Right.
to the people within 200 foot, and we'll
Right.
go through the regular procedure.
Right.
Okay, if Mr. Susky, you got that number 10?
Yes, my recommendation is a new section 3 that just says that this special use is conditioned upon the property being rezoned, what was it,
R3.
R3 within blank days, and whatever days y'all want.
Well, the only thing,
Don't want to hold up the
we don't want to hold up the special use for the daycare center, but, why don't you make this another condition, make it condition 10, and just say that subject to,
Within a reasonable time.
that not
Not to
subject to the
exceed
property
90 days.
owner and the city taking steps to have this property rezoned to an R3 classification.
It's good enough. And I'll make that motion.
Second. All right. Ms. Whitby, have you got the amendment?
Yes, sir. Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Suspend rules, place the ordinance on its second reading.
All right. As
As
amended.
amended.
Motion made, seconded on the motion.
This is an ordinance allowing special use for a daycare center in the C4 zone for certain real property located at 600 West 22nd Street in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading as amended.
Mayor, we did not vote on suspension of the rules. I don't believe you did. We voted
Oh,
on
you're
the
right.
amendment.
No, you did.
We
No, you
did.
didn't.
We did. We did. We
I'm
voted on the
sorry, you
amendment. We did
confused
not
me.
vote on suspending the rule.
You're right.
Okay, so it is amended.
It is
Now
amended.
we
Gibson
voted-
votes yes
Okay.
on the motion now.
All right, Gibson moved to suspend the rules, and there was a second. And now there is a vote of yes by Alderman Gibson.
Yes.
Can we back up just 1 second? We need to call the roll on the first reading. Then the motion. Is that what we're doing? Is that what you're doing?
What I think we've done is,
Ready?
we called it,
Called it.
and then moved to
Read.
amend it
Amended.
Okay.
after we read it.
Now
ready.
you're moving to
So
suspend
now
the
we're
rules.
suspending the rules for the first time.
Read
Okay.
on the second reading.
Who is seconding that?
Alderman Vestal.
Thank you.
Murray's got his glasses off.
I'm so sorry. Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Now do you want her to read it the second time?
That's correct.
As amended?
That's correct.
Okay.
This is an ordinance allowing a special use for a daycare center in a C4 zone for certain real property located at 600 West 22nd Street in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading as amended.
Move to suspend the rules, place the ordinance on its third reading, as amended.
Second. Question.
On the motion,
Gibson?
Yes.
and now
Yielding?
I'll ask your question.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas? Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance allowing a special use for a daycare center in the C4 zone for certain real property located at 600 West 22nd Street in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading as amended.
Alderman Barry.
Well, this, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first legislation that will take place after the new rules adoption that we just made.
That won't go into effect for how many days?
No, we passed the merger.
We passed the merger.
You still got to sign.
Mayor hadn't
He'll sign it before he signs this one.
I don't know if that's going to cut it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's my opinion that this will be subject to Alderwoman Robinson's legislation. The only time there's a delay in the enforcement, if you wish to criminally prosecute somebody for violating the ordinance, you can only do so after it's been published in the paper and the public's been notified.
And so the city attorney's opinion is that Alderwoman Robinson's legislation will be guidance for this daycare center.
May I ask
That's
Mr.
correct.
Webb a question?
Sure.
Mr. Webb, when do you need this legislation to go into effect? August 1st, we okay with you?
Yes, sir, that's fine.
Okay. August, what's next Monday? August
Second.
Second?
Second.
Have we passed the legislation yet?
No, sir.
Okay.
You got an amendment?
I have an amendment to the emergency clause.
That's fine. And the other thing, I want to make sure we're clear, and that is that, that condition number 10 will not preclude the special use being in effect unless that condition is not met in a reasonable time. So that's the way I interpret that. All right. You comfortable with that, Mr. Susky?
Yes.
All right. Now, what's your amendment on the emergency?
No, we got to pass it first.
It's been read 3 times. Now there needs to be a vote. This time I'm right.
That's right.
This time you're right. Okay. Let's roll with it.
Gibson.
Votes yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
On the emergency clause, Mr. Gibson moves to amend it to read, it goes full force and effect on August the 2nd,
Thank you.
2004.
That amendment is a motion made and seconded to amend the emergency clause, making it effective a week from today. Any discussion on the motion to amend, Ms. Whitney?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
All right, don't
Thank
open
you.
before Monday. Wait.
Thank you, Mr. Webb, for working with me on this.
And Mr. Boyles, if you take the steps necessary to bring this back to the council so that we can have the proper notices and have that zoning classification amended to R3. Any council member?
Mayor, may I ask you about communications number 2, which was from Central Arkansas Water, appointing one of our constituents to the Water Commission?
We'll have that legislation in order to do that at the next council meeting.
Okay.
I neglected to ensure that that was filed.
All right.
Any other? Microphone's open. Public comment.
Good evening, Mayor. I don't want to wear my welcome out, but
Never do, Mr. Taylor.
I want to talk to you again about the house, I think it's 4614 Boyer, the one that I talked about getting boarded up. I would like to rephrase that to giving them people some time to fix that like it's supposed to be fixed, or either tear it down. And maybe have them to put up some kind of a bond or something to, because everybody that started out, this is kind of like buying a pig in a poke. This thing's been bought 2 or 3 different times. And I'd say the last probably 4 or 5 years. And when they get home, the bottom's out of their sack and their pig's gone. So they sell it to someone else. And this last time, I think it was a giveaway because they found out that there was more there than a couple of sheets of plywood and a handful of nails would fix. But it don't have no floor or nothing in it. And I've had the police over there several times because people have been going in and out of it. So I'd like to change that from boarding up to give them people some time to fix it and fix it right. And put some pressure on them to either do that or tear it down. I don't want it boarded up, because we've had 2 boarded up in the neighborhood, and they was boarded up for ain't no telling how long, and both of them were finally burnt. So I don't want this to come up like that.
We appreciate it, Mr. Shacklin. If you'd make sure we take a look at that and kind of give us an update on where we are on that Boyer property.
And next one, I'd like to see what kind of report has been made on the manhole covers on East Broadway.
Good question. We'll have to check into it. I don't know unless any council members, I hadn't had any information of recent, but we'll sure try to have an answer for you quickly.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
They completed the work.
All right, well, go out there and take a look at the ones that Mr. Taylor's talking about, Mr. Smith, and if you think it's satisfactory, then you let me know. If you don't, then you let them know. All right?
Well, they're not satisfactory to the people out there, and I'll be back here every 2 weeks. If you're not chasing that submarine and you're here, I'm gonna be right here.
I hope to be here, Mr. Taylor. I hope to be here. We'll try to chase that utility, and particularly if Mr. Smith agrees with you. If he doesn't agree with you, then we're gonna have some.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody would mind out there like it going over a ripple in the ocean, but it seemed like they was low, and now then they're high, and every time you hit one of them, it sounds like you lost a wheel. And I'm not exaggerating. I'll come get you tomorrow, and I'll personally drive you over them. You know, I mean, I'm not trying to pull
I'm not, Mr. Taylor, I'm not at all arguing with you, but I'm gonna let Mr. Smith bump over that one and then tell me he agrees with you. And if he doesn't, then I'll bump over it.
Okay. Well, the final thing is there were some people come to the Crime Watch meeting the other night and said there was a trailer going to be moved in on School Street. It's supposed to be what some people call a modular home. That's what I think. People that's got a lot of money and don't want to admit that they live in a house trailer, they call them modular homes. But the people that live in Rose City, and people like I was raised up, that didn't have a whole lot, they call them house trailers, and that's all they'll ever be. It don't make no difference what they are, they a modular home or a house trailer. And I just want to find out why that was legal to move, to be one of them to be moved in and take the frame out in Rose City when I heard it wasn't legal.
I can't answer that, Robert Boyles, unless Mr. Berry's got some idea.
We got a zoning for that, don't we?
But it's not zoned for that. I don't think it's a mobile home.
We're the only ward that has that zoning, Barry.
Come on, Mr. Boyles. Let's just see. I can't answer that question, Mr. Taylor.
I found another one.
It's not a trailer. It is going to be a constructed residence. It meets the building code. The building inspector is requiring a foundation. It went through review by Planning Commission. It's going to have brick, vinyl siding, pitched roof with shingles, and it'll be moved in. There'll be a foundation built. It'll be brought in and moved off of a trailer to the foundation and affixed to the foundation, and the building inspector has approved it under our building code. So it's not a mobile home.
It's a Morgan building or something.
All right, Alderman, just a second, Alderman Thomas.
We have a whole subdivision going in like that out there in Rose City, do we not?
That's a different developer.
It's same type of building.
Group out of, I don't think so. I think those on Campbell will be a little higher quality.
Okay.
I was fearful about this one. I brought it to the attention of the Planning Commission. They worked it over for 2 months, and they're satisfied that it meets our code as a residence. So we'll test this one, and maybe we'll get design review after, if this doesn't come in as we think it will.
Alderman Thomas has the floor.
I know I talked on several occasions with your department, and they said it meets all of the legal requirements in regard to it.
It does.
Alderwoman Robinson.
My concern is that it kind of changes the character of the neighborhood, and I thought we had something in place regarding the character of neighborhoods.
We don't have a lot. We do restrict manufactured homes to zoning classification. We treat modular construction as stick-built housing. And the ones that are being built in Texas and coming out to Campbell, and I don't know if that project is still on go, but those are truly modular construction. This is a venture by the Morgan Building Company, and they will be over 700 square feet, and they will have 2x6 rafters and things of that type, and the building inspector says they meet the building code. So they're not the same as a modular home that might appear metal and boxy. We have a rendition of it, and it will have a pitched roof, shingled roof, found a solid permanent foundation, so it really does fit closer.
Let me just say this, and then we'll ask Alderman Berry that, that based on our what I understand the Planning Commission and our current legislation, that then this may have gotten biased if that's what our intent, that we may need to review what the legislation is in a way that we might be able to better address this if the council chooses. Alderman Berry?
Robert, do you have a plan for that thing and a picture
I
of
do.
it?
We have one at the office.
Could you give us one at the council?
I'll mail it to you or have it at the next council meeting.
Why don't you just put it in the mail?
Okay.
Each council member. Each council member.
That's fine, man. I was under the impression, and I think these people was too, and I hope they're watching tonight, because I didn't want it to be pulled in there in a house trailer, type frame under it, and it'd be pulled out and set down on a foundation, because that opens up a whole lot more than what we expected. So if that's what it is, and it's a home that's been built and has floor joists and stuff under it, before it can be took off and set up, that's just like a home being built or another. But I was under the impression it was like a house trailer, a modern home with a trailer frame under it, and it would be took out.
Apparently, Mr. Boyles is saying something different, Mr.
Yeah,
Taylor.
well, that's right. I hope they're watching tonight, so maybe that'll clear that up. Thank you.
And it still changes the character of the neighborhood.
Yes, sir. Well, we might need to work with something on that then.
Well, I think so.
I'm Joe Reynolds, and I might be able to comment a little bit on about these manufactured or modular homes. I was involved in helping build some of these down in Texas several years ago, and some of the houses even had the slab foundation poured, like you were going to put it on concrete, monolithic, or whatever, and then you would come in, and they would bring it in, and the walls would already be constructed, and they would be put up around, and like you said, it meets all codes and whatever, and some of them are even on slab foundations, and there's no way you can move it, or it could ever be have wheels and axles under where you can move it. I think that's what you're talking about pretty well, aren't you? And I helped build some of those, so they're good structures, and if it meets all the codes, it's not like there will be no axles under it when it's brought in the first place. So I think it probably is good thing.
Mayor, there's one of those houses on North Hills Boulevard, been there 30 years.
Do I have a motion?
Wait, Mayor.
I'm
Mayor.
sorry.
Good evening, council members. My name is James Ard. First, I'd like to say, Mayor, you have a young lady in your office that's very efficient. She's summer help, and I forgot her name, but she handles the phone as well, and I'm fixing to get killed, if not better, than some of the existing people. So you need to give her that a girl award. I understand she's going abroad to represent us. You may want to comment on that. Also, I'd like to remind people that election's coming up, and you need to get on your alderman and see what you can get done. You usually can get more done during election season. And the mayor, you're in that race too, so maybe people can call you and get something done.
They always can call all of us to get things done, Mr. Hart. We work 365.
And I appreciate it, and y'all have a good evening.
Thank you very much. We want to, before we do that, one last announcement. National Night Out is Tuesday, I believe. That's August the 3rd. Many of our neighborhood organizations will be hosting events that evening. I encourage everyone to check with neighborhood services, find one that's going on in your area, attend it. This National Night Out we've participated in a number of years, and more and more we enjoy that activity. So find a neighborhood National Night Out, celebrate it, and help us fight crime in your neighborhood. With that, there's a motion made and second to adjourn. Yes, there was, by Alderman Witcher and seconded by Alderman Gibson. On the motion.
Gibson, please.
He's abstaining.
Yielding. Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry. Vestal.
This earlier night.
Vestal. Height.
Yes.
Witcher.
We postponed it. They were out there when you got there.
I asked him to go look at it.
It was postponed to rain.